Welcome back to lecture 24.2, where we're going to talk about that coexistence curve some more. So last time we derived the Clausius-Clapeyron equation, which said dP dt was equal to delta S delta V, which was equal to L over T delta V. So one of the things I like about the Clausius-Clapeyron so much is that we feel sometimes like entropy is this ethereal thing that we don't have a good grasp on, right? That it's not tangible and we can't measure. And to some extent that's true because we do actually prefer to use these Maxwell equations or Maxwell relations to get around our entropy calculations sometimes to something that's more measurable. But here you can really see that if I, for example, remember this is along a coexistence curve, right? And delta S and delta V we don't write, these aren't differentials, these are changes, right? These are the changes in S and V as we move from from phase 1 to 2, for example, right? These are these changes. By the way, if you're following along in the book, this is chapter, I believe it's 9. Yeah, 9, where we are doing 9. We did 9.2 a few days ago. 9.3, 9.4 was last lecture, deriving the Clausius-Clapeyron. And to some extent, we're doing 9.5 and 9.6 in this one. Right? These are really the changes as we move between phases. Those jumps in delta S and delta V, those discontinuities as in our S versus T diagrams, right? Whereas dP dt, this is the shape along that coexistence curve. It's a continuous function. Okay, so let's remember that. But you can see here that change in entropy now becomes somewhat accessible. Because if we can measure that dP dt curve and the volume change, then we have a handle on the entropy. Or conversely, you can measure the temperature, the latent heat, and the volume change. And you can, the temperature and the latent heat, and you can get the entropy. So you can see now entropy has become a much more tangible and accessible object. So so what we're going to do now is derive one of these coexistence curves, and we're going to derive it for the phase between a liquid and a gas. Okay, we're going to do a liquid and a gas, which is a really useful one. And this is going to lead us into some examples that we'll actually follow up with in class. Okay. So we're going to take 1 to be our liquid and 2 to be a gas in our equations. Okay, so V1 is going to be liquid. And we know what do we know about liquid volumes? They are a constant. our volume 2 was going to be for a gas, right? And we know that these are going to evolve, for example, like an ideal gas. So let's assume this is an ideal gas. So this is going to be N. Nope, there's no N because this is the molar volume. So this is just going to be RT over P for an ideal gas. Okay. So one thing to note, that if you just imagine a real world scenario, that usually the volume of a gas is much volume than larger than the volume of the corresponding liquid. Okay, so let's do our Clausius-Clapeyron dP dt is going to be S2 minus S1 over V2 minus V1, or L, because now I'm going to specify which L this is, right? This is going to be my latent heat of vaporization, right? So this is the latent heat of vaporization. So that latent heat of vaporization is the relevant latent heat for the liquid gas transition. Okay, so this is going to be T V2 minus V1, but we just said that dP dt is going to be LV, and basically T, V2 was our gas, so this is going to be simply Vg, right? That we don't need to worry about our latent heat of our liquid. I mean our volume of our liquid, sorry. So this is going to be RT over P, or LV times P over R T squared. Okay, let's rearrange. This is going to be dP over P, and this is going to be 1 over R T squared dt. Okay, so now let's integrate to find how that pressure depends on the temperature, find the equation for our coexistence curve. Okay, so let's just integrate from some arbitrary initial pressure to some final pressure, and some initial temperature to some final temperature. So we might as well imagine P0 and T0 to be, for example, like fixed points, like we knew for 1 atmosphere, it was 100 degrees C, right? We might want to, kind of think like that. Okay, so this is log of P over P0, and this is minus. So this should be, right, you think of this as T to the minus 2. So this is minus 1 over T, 1 over RT, T minus. Oops, I forgot my LV somewhere. So this will just be minus LV over R, 1 over T minus 1 over T0. Or take the both sides to the e to the both sides. So this is P over P0, which is e to the minus LV over RT, e to the minus LV over RT0. Just put the P0 on the other side. But you can see this is simply a constant again, right? So we can just say that along the coexistence curve, the vapor pressure of the gas is some constant P, I think I called it P star, e to the minus LV over RT. So P star is just some constant, right? So we now see that vapor pressure really should have been an exponential. So as we decrease the temperature, we get exponentially less gas in the vapor above it. And so now we also know, for example, that if we know this pressure, right, the boiling temperature, T boiling, is simply that point where the vapor pressure equals the atmospheric pressure. And so we now have our coexistence curve of a liquid gas. So this is generically true, right? It's just these constants will change. So let's do an in-class example. Where we use this to determine the boiling point, the boiling temperature of water in Edmonton. Okay? So that's what we're going to do in class. We're going to determine the boiling temperature of water in Edmonton, and then we'll do a few other pressures as well. And then we're going to also look at, really quickly, the solid liquid as well, right? So we did the solid gas, we'll do the solid liquid as well. Sorry, we did the liquid gas, we'll do the solid liquid in class. Okay, so I will see you in class.